We're going to go over the steps on how to accurately and correctly dimension a multi-view drawing. And so here we have a part drawn. The first thing that we're going to do on any time that we are dimensioning a part is put in center marks and center lines where they're needed. And so we have a hole in the front view of our object. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a center mark for that hole. I'm also going to put in a center line in the right side view to mark the center of the hole in the right side view. And I'm going to do the same in the top view. Put a center line to mark the center of that hole. Now, the next thing I suggest when dimensioning an object is to start with the width dimensions. And so we know that width dimensions run from left to right across our part in the front view and in the top view. And so if I get a straight edge here and I start on the left side of my object and I move across the object, the first thing I run into is this little cutout feature. All right. And so I need to dimension that feature. And so I could either do that in the front view or in the top view. I'm going to do that in the front view because one of our dimensioning guidelines says that we should dimension the feature in the view that shows it best. And so in the front view, I'll create an extension line that doesn't touch my object. And then I'll put in the dimension for that. And in this case, it is 1 inch. And then I'll put my dimension lines on the outside of my extension lines because they won't fit on the inside. I continue to go from left to right across my object. The next thing I run into is my hole. I need to dimension the location of that hole. And so in my object, I could do that in several places. I could do it right here in the front view, I could do it in the top view, or I could do it down here in the front view. I'm going to choose to do it on the bottom of the front view because the feature is in the front view, and so that's why I'm going to do it there. And I'm going to do it underneath the front view instead of on top of the front view because I would draw a long extension line to do that in above the front view. And I want to try to avoid that if I can. And so this dimension looks like it's going to be 2 inches. So I'll go ahead and put in that dimension and the dimension line for it. So again, moving from left to right across the object, the next thing I have is the overall width of the object. And so that's how large it is in the overall width. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to do that. Again, I could do it in the top view up here or in the front view. I'm going to choose to do it in the front view. I could draw a long extension line here and put it between views. I'm going to choose to put it underneath the front view so I don't have to draw a long extension line up through the object. So by using this method of going across the object, I've been able to figure out all of the width views that I need. The next thing I'm going to dimension are the height views. And so the height are in the from bottom to top, and they're in both the front view and right side view. So again, if I start from the bottom to top, the first thing I need to do is locate that hole in the height dimension. And so I'm going to draw my extension line out and use my extension line to do that, or my center mark to do that, excuse me. I'll draw in a dimension line, and then I can put in the dimension that locates that hole. And it looks like that hole is going to be 1/4 of an inch from the base. It's going to be very hard for me to fit that dimension between these extension lines. So in this case, I can put that dimension right underneath that line. Again, moving from bottom to top in the height, I have the center mark dimension. The next thing I run into is this feature for this step. I could put that height dimension here in the front view or the right side view. I'm going to put it in the front view because it shows the feature best. In the right side view, again, it's just a line. So I'll draw my extension lines over, put in my dimension lines, and then put in my dimension. And so it looks like that feature is 3/4 of an inch. So I'll put in 0.75. So again, moving from the bottom to the top of my object, I have the center mark dimensioned, I have the feature dimensioned, and the next thing I run into is the overall height. Few places I could put the overall height. I could draw a long extension line and put it right here on the object. I could draw it over here on the right side view, or I could put it on the left side of the front view to show the overall height of the object. And so I think that I'm going to go ahead and put that one right here on the right side view. If you put it over here on the front view, it wouldn't be wrong. It would just be a different way to do it. I think if you drew a long extension line, it would be considered better to put it on the right side view or on the left side of the front view, so we could avoid that long extension line. And so in this case, it looks like it's going to be 1.5 inches tall. So I'll go ahead and put in that dimension. And again, we know we've dimensioned everything because we've gone up the object and we have a dimension for every thing represented in both views. The next thing we need to do is dimension the depth dimensions. And so depth is from left to right in the right side view and from bottom to top in the top view. And I'll use the same system. I'll go across the object. I'm not running into anything across the object. And so there's only one depth dimension. I could put that depth dimension right here in the right side view or in the top view. In this case, I'm going to put it in the right side view. I'll go ahead and put in that dimension and my dimension line. Now my part is fully dimensioned. One thing that I need to go back and look to make sure to do, I need to know the size of this hole. And so I always like to do that at the end after I've included all of the height, width, and depth dimensions, because now I know that I don't want to draw my leader line through this object right here, through this dimension line or through these extension lines. So I know that I can put my leader line right here and I can dimension the diameter of that hole. And so in this case, it looks like that hole is going to have a diameter of 1/2 inch. And so again, that's why I like to use the leader lines at the end, because it helps me know where to place them. Now, one other thing that will draw your attention to, notice there are no dimensions in the top view. And so if we were doing a CAD drawing right now, we could just go ahead and we could delete this top view because there's no dimensions on it. So all we need to represent this object are a front and a right side view. And so I'm just going to write delete top view. And I'm going to put a slash and write no dems. So there's no dimensions in the top view, so it could be deleted from our drawing.